Hi, I'm Nathan.
And I'm Wale.
And we've been following the Archbishop around for 3 days while he was here on his tour of Leicester.
And this is what we got up to.
This is one of the most exciting and important cities in the United Kingdom. It's one that people look to as a model for how the future of our country is shaped in its diversity.
So one of the first things that the Archbishop noticed is that our diocese is so richly diverse.
And he met with BAME leaders from local churches and discussed how the Church of England overall can be more inclusive.
True Christian life is ordered by the Spirit, but it's not necessarily tidy. It's rich and explosive and overflowing and generous and hospitable. And I think those common principles of Scripture, of common prayer, of the Lord's Prayer, of song and vibrant song are principles that ought to say to us we're one family, but they don't have to be in the same style.
So one thing that really struck me about the Archbishop is how much he emphasised prayer. And that was so evident because he literally did not start a meeting without praying.
There's a really good way of communicating with God, which is reading the Bible and listening to what God is saying to us, because it's not much of a conversation if it's only totally one way. We see in the Bible stories where people communicate with God by dancing, singing, praying in the way that the Spirit of God fills our hearts with joy. People shout aloud with joy, just being with Him, like you are sometimes with a friend or someone who loves you. You just sit quietly together. You don't have to exchange words. There's so many ways. Think of a friendship. Think of all the ways you celebrate friendship together.
And one thing that stood out for me is how open he was to answer questions about his personal life. In particular, he talked about his first daughter who passed away after just 7 months and how God was with him in that period of time.
But I think you say dark time. It was a dark time. It was the valley of the shadow, to use Psalm 23. It was the valley of the shadow of death. But it was also, Caroline has said this, my wife, numerous times, and we both say it to each other, we cannot remember a time when God was closer. And by the grace of God and in His love, we found our way to a deeper faith, to softer hearts with those who are in trouble, to a deeper commitment to each other, and God has somehow, out of evil brought good, but that's what He does. Out of the cross came the resurrection.
One of the Archbishop's key priorities is witness and evangelism, and he was very keen to talk about how this is so important to the Church's role.
And one thing that our local diocese does so well is empowering local pioneers to start fresh expressions that reach people who will not normally come to church.
It is, first of all, to gather those who worship God in Jesus Christ, and secondly, by its actions and its words, to show people the love of God in Jesus Christ and invite them to be His disciples. And that, I said this before, but I'll say it again, really apart from that, it's mostly decoration. Pioneering is not designed to be coherent, it's designed to encourage life. Now, we may get it wrong. Then go back to the picture of the first Christian community, which is pioneering par excellence. I think the willingness of the Church to embrace untidy edges is critical to any hope we have of the renewal of the Church. You're all a bunch of eccentrics. And you're all completely rebellious. You can't stand authority. And you sit around on benches in November in the cold. You're that kind of person. Thank God you're here. I praise God that you're here.
One thing I really loved about the Archbishop is that he was so funny and he was so natural and easy to get along with.
And he really was, and actually he was able to bring the gospel into every conversation almost. He kept it front and centre, and he talked about the fact that really this all hinges on the truth of the gospel.
What enables me to be sure is that God raised Jesus from the dead. I mean, honestly, if they found Jesus' body in a tomb next week, I'd have to resign. I hope every other bishop would have to resign. The resurrection is what makes the difference. Through the cross of Christ, God made the way for us to know God as our friend. That God himself, Jesus Christ, opened the way so that we could know God and know the reality of God in our lives.